what's up? It's Sean Baligian.
What up? This is Joy Bell here on the Baligian and Bell Show.
Make sure you check us out on the Woodward Sports Network. So what is up? So glad you could join us on a Monday morning. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Joik Bell is off today. We are honored. It is indeed a privilege to have an old friend of mine in the business who certainly needs no introduction. Not from the likes of me. Okay. The one, the only Terry Foster.
All right, thank you very much. Good? All right, you're just a fountain of information today. Now,
yes, sir,
Mr. Hockey.
Let's go. Yes,
I want to challenge you today.
I love it. Let's go.
You love hockey, right?
It's my favorite sport, and it's not close. I'm not going to lie.
Now, if I do recall, one day you were doing radio, and you said, "Now, tell me if I'm right."
Okay.
If aliens visited the Earth and watched all the sports live, they would say, you know what? Hockey is the best sport by far. Did you say that? Yes or no?
I said something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
I do remember what you say. So this is why I want to bring this up.
I have a question for you based on that, but go on.
Okay. Now, there is a movement in the United States of America to bring forth a women's hockey league.
Yes.
Not just a women's hockey league, but one that makes it possible for women to live a living wage, have a living wage. They visited Los Angeles. There's a little tour going on. They visit Chicago, New York. My understanding that the Seattle team is involved, the Blackhawks are involved, the Kings are involved, the Rangers. I think Boston was involved in this thing too. One team that was missing was the Detroit Red Wings. Why is that? Isn't this supposed to be Hockey Town, brother? Second question, Mr. Hockey.
All right.
If such league were to happen, a women's professional hockey league, and I'm not just talking about getting some chicks off the street. I'm talking about high-level hockey where people would pay $10, $12 to go see the game. Maybe it's on TV regionally, maybe at some point nationally. Would you be involved in anything like that, either as a fan, broadcaster, or whatever? Would that interest you?
Which one do you want me to answer first? The latter. How about I go with the latter? 100%. And anybody that knows me, and I hope those of you that are maybe just getting to know me here on Woodward Sports, I'm not the PC guy who's going to give you the PC answer. And I'm going to tell you this, Terry.
And if you were, get off of here right now.
Yeah, I would hope that people know me better than that. I regularly play the villain when I'm with Joik. Really and truly, one of the coolest events I've ever had the privilege to be a part of was the Women's World Championship at USA Hockey Arena back in 2017. Terry, it was unbelievable. The hockey was tremendous, including a young lady from this area, and Miss Keller, who happened to be my daughter's favorite player at the time my daughter was playing. It was the electricity in the room was phenomenal, and then it got ramped up about 100 times because honestly, today, I think the best rivalry in sports, and I've gone on record saying this, is the U.S. women and the Canadian women in hockey. And I'll tell you why. They absolutely hate each other. They hate each other with a passion. They do. You can see it. You can feel it. There are stories there. Every time there's a different chapter being written. You know, this lady disrespected us. Oh, they did a dance on our flag. Whether it's real or imagined, it is pure, unadulterated hatred. They hate each other. So being in that building, and one of the guys at work here, Alex, was part of the crew. Terry, the temperature in the room was unbelievable. I mean, enough to melt the ice. And, of course, the U.S. wins in overtime, a very dramatic goal to knock off the Canadians. So I'm not just saying this to be PC in this PC age. It is phenomenal. Is it as good as the men? Of course it isn't. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. If you go there expecting to see U.S.-Canada from the men's Olympics, it's not the same. It just isn't, okay? It's a great product of the game with people that work their tails off and do so many things so well, better than a vast majority of us. I would absolutely, positively, 100% support that.
But it's not going to be USA-Canada every night. It's going to be the grind of a season, probably, let's say, a 50-game season. At some point, it's going to be teams playing 3 games in 5 or 6 nights. So it's not going to be that top-level stuff all the time. It needs sustaining power. For instance, when we talk about women's soccer, I don't understand how in this country and in Canada you can have women's soccer leagues, but you can't have a high-level women's hockey league. I understand this is a regional sport, but we do have Canada. We do have New York, Boston, Chicago, and Detroit. If you're going to promote women's sports, I don't see how hockey is not a part of that, because when you look at women's athletics, what do women play at a very high level? Basketball, gymnastics, hockey. And the game is slower. I get that it is slower, but it's still a pretty high level. Why there can't be a women's hockey league that we'd all go see? See, I keep hearing this is hockey town. If you're gonna have a women's league, you should be talking about Detroit first, but you're not, which leads me to believe that this is not hockey town. This is actually Red Wing town.
100%. It is a wonderful marketing tool that the Red Wings have used for a quarter of a century. But I can tell you, as a guy, I know I saw you out there. The OHL wasn't supported here. Sadly, the Whalers had a great team. They weren't supported here. I could go on it. Nobody cares about high school hockey. It's grown. It's grown a lot. But that's not front and center in a lot of places. It's getting better. Terry, absolutely. This is a Red Wing town, and I think there's a difference between the term hockey town and a Red Wing town, and that's just the reality of it. Am I
barking up the wrong tree? Is this not possible? What I'm talking about?
I think it is. I think it's a great question, and I'd love to ask people. You have to remember, I'm completely biased. Openly admit it, okay? I'm gonna go support the game if I have an opportunity to support the game because it's a passion of mine. Would you guys out there, is this something that you would watch? They play at one of the local arenas. I'm not saying, and I don't think you are either, Terry, I'm not saying fill Little Caesars Arena. Would you go watch it if it was Yost or Munn or USA Hockey Arena? Let's have a 50-game schedule, 25 home, 25 on the road, a couple games a week, spread out.
We got a new arena going up in downtown on Wayne State University's campus. This is where the Pistons D-League or G-League team is going to play.
Could you make it multi-purpose?
I suppose. Why not?
Okay. Would people go? I don't think so. I don't think they would. It makes me sad, but I don't. Only because I've seen it. I've seen it happen so many times in this town. They'll support the Red Wings when the Red Wings. The dirty little secret, Terry, and you know this as well as I do. Red Wing fans have been front runners for a long time. Not the diehards. The diehards are always going to be there. But you and I grew up in an era where in the early 80s, nobody was going to Joe Louis Arena. Nobody was. To the point that Mr. Ilitch was really giving out cars to go there. Now, when they started to get good, I think back in the late 80s, it was almost like a night on the town because they were the hot ticket, if you remember.
Right.
And then there was a little down period, and then they got hot again and won a bunch of Stanley Cups, and the rest was history. But to answer, I don't think Detroit would support it, and that makes me sad. I don't think Detroit would support it, though. Do you?
No, I don't think many communities would support women's athletics. See, I think it's not a hockey issue. It is a hockey issue to a certain extent. I just think it's women. Like dudes are not. I'm not getting up at it's 4 degrees outside. I'm not going downtown, or I'm not going to Plymouth, or I'm not going to Ann Arbor to go watch women play because it's quote unquote inferior product. So I just don't think they will do that. I applaud the leagues. I applaud the people who are trying to organize it. And maybe Detroit doesn't belong on that list, that short list of teams. Maybe it can only work in New York and Chicago and LA, or some smaller places that don't have professional sports. We got everything here. I mean, we've got Pistons and Red Wings that people aren't going to their games.
Yep.
We've got the Lions where people are going to go anyway once a week or once every other week. And I'm going to go whether my leg is broken or my mama just died. I'm going to the Lions game. And then Tigers game. Outside, I can enjoy the 70-degree weather, go out and have a couple beers, almost get drunk because I can't get drunk because the beers cost too much. But so our plate is full. Then you throw in college athletics and boom.
You bring up the Lions, and Terry, in my mind, there were really 2 times where I call it a revolt. The fans had a revolt. In the late 80s, they bottomed out 87, 88. There was awful. There was really no reason to go to the Pontiac Silverdome. And then they drafted this guy named Barry Sanders. Maybe you guys have heard of him. And then all of a sudden, everybody came back en masse. And towards the end of the Millen era, you and I were both working in radio at the time. Everybody was kind of just done with it. And here's this brand new stadium. I mean, really, it was only, 5 years old at the time. And more often than not, it was half full. People just stopped going. Other than that, I couldn't agree with you more. In the last 30-plus years, people go to Lions games regardless. Those are the only 2 times that there was a revolt.
Where were you doing the Millen Man March? Weren't you out there leading, waving a flag?
Yes, I was. And I'll never do anything like that again, by the way. But
yes, you will.
No, I gave it the office. Thank you.
Okay.
It's especially to watch somebody else try to take credit for it. But with that being said, Terry, the one thing that I said, because I don't believe in telling people how they should or should not live their life, I never told people to stay away. I never, at no point in time did I say, boycott the game, stay away from the game. I would be the biggest hypocrite ever. And you know why? I'm that sucker that you talked about just a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. I'll be there. I'm going to take my kids. You bet your behind. This fall, now that, at least for the time being, I'm not doing anything on game day, I'll go with my buddies one day. We'll go grill at Eastern Market. You're invited. I know you won't come into the game, but we'll eat some ribs, and then I'll wave goodbye to you.
If I'm in the right mood, I'll go to the game.
You might come into the game. But and then there'll be a day where, when my son comes home from school, his school will be ending in the fall. I'll just say, let's go to the game. My son and my daughter and dad, and we'll have a day of it. So that was the one thing about doing that march. I never, ever, ever verbalized, boycott the Lions, stay away, don't go, because if I did, I'd be a hypocrite. You know, and that it's funny because a lot of people said, I can't believe you're telling people not to go and boycott and everything. That wasn't for me.
People don't listen to you.
Never.
They hear words, but they don't really listen.
Mm-hmm.
I've never told anyone not to go to a Lions game. I asked the question, why are you going? That doesn't mean don't go. I just want to know where's your mind?
Yeah.
And if you're inviting me to a Lions game, I'm going. Now, my preference is to go downtown, tailgate, and then go find a sports bar downtown to watch the NFL games and the Lions games. That's a lot of fun because a lot of people don't go to Lions games, but we're having drinks and talking and having a good time and slapping each other on the ass. That's fun to me. But, to go into an atmosphere where I know people are going to be booing and then I got to wait to go to the bathroom because I got to go to the bathroom. I want to go right now. So that's just not my thing. I'm spoiled. If you want to say it, I'm spoiled because I've been in the press box and I get my own private stall and everything like this. So I'm just used to watching the game and do what I want to do when I want to do it. It's hard for me to be a sports fan where you gotta wait for things. You gotta sit in seats that are cramped up, and then there's some idiot behind you cussing, and I don't feel like hearing the cursing today, but he's doing it anyway. So I don't want to hear this stuff. But when I'm in my press box, when I'm in my living room or basement, because they throw me in the basement when I want to watch the Lions, or I'm at some sports, I don't have to deal with all that stuff. And I get to see it on a big ass TV, and I get replays. I love replays.
You know what you're explaining right now? And if you said, okay, I'm a snob, I guess I'll admit I'm a snob. When I would take my kids to the one game a year, I would always sit in the second level, the executive level. I'd find a way to get tickets there for all the reasons you just stated. Because guess what? There's a TV monitor that hangs under the third overhang, okay? And when I inevitably have to take a whiz because I've got the kidney of a 10-year-old, guess what? I walk upstairs and there's no line. There's multiple bathrooms there, and you never wait for a line in the executive level. So believe it or not, a lot of those things, that's why I'll spend the extra money and I'll say, yeah, I'm gonna get tickets to the executive level.
Yeah, the only time I sit in the stands is if I'm hanging tough with somebody,
Sure,
or I'm with my son, because I want to make sure he enjoys the experience. So he can see what it's like to be a sports fan. I don't want my son to become me. I want him to be able to cheer at games. I want him to have a good time.
Amen.
Because I'm just there. You know what? I'm just observing, listening, trying to dissect stuff. It's just ingrained in you when you do this for business. I don't go to games to have a good time. Now, I go to the sports bar to have a good time.
Yeah.
I hang out with people downtown and have a good time. But when I'm in that stands, even though the building might be collapsing around me and people going nuts, I'm just there watching. And it's a tragic way to watch sports, I'll tell you.
It is. No, there's no doubt. Lots of comments here, Terry. I think it's a great question. As Steve said, Detroit fans are fair weather fans. I've always felt that way, Steve. I love this town. I'm never going anywhere. Terry, you and I have talked. I'm not going anywhere. For the longest time, I was one of those guys when I was younger, and even when I was not so young. Trust me, even 10 years ago, I didn't think I'd be here. There was an opportunity out of town. I thought it was for me. And you know what? Then I thought about it, and I was like, that would be stupid. Why would I do that? So that's not an anti-Detroit. I've always felt Detroit fans are fair weather fans. Look at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Look at Little Caesars Arena. I mean, look at Comerica Park. I mean, in the time that my son and we had tickets forever down at Comerica, Terry. We got them in 04, and 04-05 there was hardly anybody there. And then about halfway through that 06 season is when all of a sudden people just started showing up. Because the Tigers got off to that great start in 06, and unfortunately 06 didn't end the way that we all wanted. And then all of a sudden, it was exactly what you said. We're sitting in the mezzanine, and I'm like this every game. Where before, I could sit at Comerica Park, put my feet up on the chair in front of me. I could sprawl out like the slob that I am.
But you know what? I don't call it being fair weather. I call it being smart. Here's why. If the team puts a bullshit product out there, why should I show up?
No, there's legitimacy there.
The onus is on the team to be at least competitive. It's like, I don't get season tickets. I don't get to the wife and say, hey, let's get season tickets to the worst plays and musicals we can find. And let's pay $80 and let's show up every week and go there, right? We've never had that conversation. So if the Tigers are in last place, the Wings and Pistons are in last place, stay your ass on. Why is the onus always on the fan to do what they're supposed to do and the team doesn't?
Truth.
I never understood that. Then if you don't show us, oh, you're being a bad fan. Well, fuck. Tell them to put something on the field that I can watch.
Could have put a good product on the field.
I don't want to pay $80 to see a team get beat 35-0.
There was one year there was one year. It was 08. The Tigers absolutely mailed it in the last month of the year. I mean, there's no other way to say that. And that's the worst thing you can say around a professional athlete and around a team.
And they get mad at you.
Listen, point blank, the Tigers mailed it in the last month of that season. And if you don't believe me, go back and look it up. And it was funny because I remember we saw a game in early September, and it was maybe, the second or third game in a row, you could just see, okay, we just want this season over. And I told my kid, I said, I'm going to give the tickets away the rest of the year. He was totally cool with it because he totally cool with it, because it was one of those things they were just going through the motions, and it was funny because Jim Leland, before the next season started, made it a point to say down in spring training, Detroit's been through some hard times. There's this thing, maybe you heard of it, called the recession. We're going every day, 100%. And that was kind of the mantra, because I think that's his way of saying, yeah, I know, the last month of the year, these guys mailed it in.
Right.
They did, point blank.
But you know what? Let's say I am struggling financially. Mm-hmm. All right, I gotta get milk and bread for the kids. I'm getting on Mama's nerves, so I gotta get her some vodka or gin, once a month at least. So once I do all that, I look at my bank account. I don't have that much money left. Why should I take my last $200 out of the bank and go see some team lose 8-0, mailing it in? They're not giving effort, so why should I? I just don't think we should feel guilty about not going to see teams. And people try to guilt you. Oh, I know the team is 2-30, but they're our team.
I'm a do what you want guy. Do what you want. I'm never going to tell anybody how you spend your money, what you do. Whatever you do. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. A lot of comments about women's sport in particular on here, Terry, that I want to get to. And if people think it would work, it's a great idea. Sadly, I just don't think it would work. But would I support it? Absolutely, I would. Hey, the price for an ounce is over $300. Why not start growing your own? With just one light, you can pull down up to 48 ounces every harvest. Do that math, and then go see the crew at Grow Green. They have everything you need to start growing today and the knowledge to help you crush it. Check out the Dank Deals page at growgreenmi.com for some insane deals like bags of Oceans Forest or Cultivation Nation 70/30 for just $8. Mention Woodward Sports for a free Grow Green t-shirt. Obviously, we have to get into what happened last night. What does it mean for Michigan? What does it mean for Michigan State? A whole heck of a lot. Stay tuned. We'll get to that as well. Terry Foster in on a Monday. So glad you're with us on Woodward Sports.
Hey, it's Joey from Woodward Sports, and I am here in downtown Fenton at Bridge Street Exchange. This place has so many amazing things for guys and ladies. This is the hidden spot that you got to come check out. I'm talking Thorogood boots, best boots ever. They have barware. They got the Stormy Cromer hats. They got Carhartt hats, a huge Carhartt selection. They even got Snoop Dogg underwear. So go check them out, bridgestreetexchange.com, and use the code word WSN for 15% off.
So what's up? So glad you could join us. Terry Foster brought up a great point this morning. Happy to have Terry here about, word that there is the growing sentiment to have a professional league here in the United States, and a lot of cities mentioned Detroit. Not one of them. And we think of all the hockey that is still being played in Detroit, and I don't think people realize how big the youth hockey movement is here in this state. A lot of questions as to why. And Terry said, is this something that people would support? Lynn said college softball, I would watch all day, every day. I could be wrong. This is just my perception. Terry, you tell me if you agree. College softball has just blown up the last few years. You see a lot of people talking about it, and,
yes.
and it's interesting.
It has. Now, if it's a regular season game between Michigan and Purdue, can't watch it. Now, if it's in the college softball World Series or the tournament, I watch it. I just think it's riveting. I know it's going to be a 2-1 game, but I also know there's going to be, I don't know when that mistake is coming that's going to allow that winning run to come in. I don't know when the sister on the mound is going to get tired and start giving up home runs, but it's going to happen. So I wait for that moment. It's a chess match. There's not that much action, but I'm waiting for the moment. I love college softball in the tournament because I love playoff anything.
Sure.
When you tell me one team is going home and not coming back, I'm like this. Mm-hmm. I'm watching.
Kevin said the WNBA is so much better fundamentally than the NBA, but there's 300 guys who can dunk in the NBA. Only a couple of women in the WNBA. Terry, it has been what? Let me do the math real quick. 24 years of the WNBA, right? 1997. It just has not captured people's imagination. It just hasn't.
Didn't we used to have a team here?
We
the
did.
Shock. That's
We
right.
did.
Swing
We did.
Cash and
Champions.
and all those. Yeah, they were champions.
It just has not captured people's imagination.
It's women's basketball. Yes, they might be fundamentally sound, but the game is slower. They move differently than men, and it's not above the rim. We live in a society where we want to see the spectacular. I know they were dogging the slam dunk contest on a morning show. Once you see someone go between the legs and dunk like this, I've already seen it. If somebody else does it, I don't want to see it again.
You got it.
So the women's game, we see a lot of times during men's league. So it's like, okay, this is boring, tickle my imagination. But the guys, you don't see guys doing alley-oop dunks a lot. You don't see what specimens they are. These are 6'8", 6'9" dudes, 225 chiseled. They can do things that is crazy. Like, for instance, I get pissed off at the NBA All-Star game every year because they smile too much. And I don't think it's a laughing matter. If you can tomahawk dunk while smiling, that pisses me off because that's something I'll never be able to do. Never be able to do. So don't take it for granted. But it's just different. It's something we don't see.
Young Fish. I like a Fish. You know what? They're all trained in here. I don't know if you've noticed, Terry. And it starts with poor art.
Yeah.
Fish raises his hand. Now, listen, you don't have to raise your hand, young man. And Arthur, neither do you. I hope you know that.
Because I'm blissful, remember?
Yes. We talked about that. Blissful.
I did say you were blissful.
Hello,
Yes.
Fish.
The All-Star game is supposed to be fun. That's the whole point of an All-Star. That's why they're smiling. You don't like that?
No. If you're playing ball, you don't smile. And I think the smiling is fake. You know, from Michael Jordan to Magic Johnson, Isaiah, whenever just smiling, you know, you're playing ball, that's fake. They're just doing it for the cameras.
You spoke to my heart a couple minutes ago because I grew up in that era of watching 3'2" Spud Webb dunk and win a contest.
When are we going to see that again?
Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordan. I've seen it all. You're going to have to really wow me. Like when I watch the video clips of the slam dunk contest.
I know.
Like look at Terry. Here's a perfect example on our screen right now. Yeah, I remember Dr. J did that. That was cool.
This dude could have lost his teeth.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? Michael Jordan, remember the dunk where he took off from the free throw line and the one, yeah. When he did that, we're like, holy cow, can you believe that? Michael Jordan just soared from the free throw line, and that was amazing. If somebody did it now, we were like, all right, motherfucker, okay, that was good. Show me something else. You can't do that dunk anymore because it's boring.
No, and that's so. You know, again, consider the fact that this was 30+ years ago. That's what blew my mind was watching little Spud Webb go out there and absolutely dominate and put on a show where all the guys on the bench, to your point, Fish, are just laughing, just going, how is this guy that is up to most guys' waist going out there and just owning it?
Something happened that we didn't expect.
Yep.
Bam.
Yep. That's exactly it. Steve asked, "What do you think the most popular women's sport is?" I'd love to hear your thoughts first. The most popular women's sport.
The most popular women's sport is college women's basketball. They have their tournament. When it's not pandemic, they sell out arenas. At some point, the Final Four for women is going to have to be in a big football stadium. They're not there yet, but they're getting there. I just think there's a lot of women who play basketball at a high level. Of course, every guy walking the street weighing 400 pounds thinks they can kick their ass. No, they can't.
Amazing.
They play at a high level. It's entertaining. And I have some of my favorites. I mean, I like South Carolina, women's basketball. I remember I had friends who played for Iowa back in the day when they were good. So they're playing at a high level. But then if you want to compare it to men's basketball, no, it's not the same. But you have to have an appreciation for a sport. To me, women's college basketball is one sport. Men's college basketball is another sport. But I'll take it this. Men's college basketball and the NBA are two different sports. They're not the same. So appreciate what you're seeing. Appreciate the athletes. Appreciate what they're doing. And then you can get into it. If it bores you, then you're never going to get into it. So I'm going to say women's college basketball.
A lot of people talking about the women's national team in soccer as well. That seems, you know what? But Terry, I think this supports your point. When the tournament happens,
right?
When it's the World Cup, when it's the big game, everybody is dialed in for the U.S. women's national team. Really, but it's only when the tournament happens.
No, absolutely. You're right about that. But I'm guilty of that.
Sure.
I don't watch soccer unless it's a country against another country. Like if you put Manchester City and Manchester United, I'm not watching. But if it's Germany versus Italy, I'll watch. If it's the World Cup, I'll watch. In fact, when the World Cup was in Germany, guess what I wanted to do? I wanted to go to Germany, watch a couple games, and have beers in the streets of Germany. That's what I wanted to do. Didn't do it, but I thought that would have been a fun thing. But there just seems certain sports, when it's country against country, it draws my interest. But if it's a team against, I don't care.
Sure. No, I get it. Arthur.
Do you think it comes down to individualism? And I bring that up because the sport that I cover, mixed martial arts, people went insane when Ronda Rousey entered the octagon. That was something that...
That's a great point.
So to me, it's like when you look at WNBA or even, women's college basketball or softball, where are the all-stars that stand up so much that it's like you have to watch?
That is such a great point because, Terry, I'll speak for me, okay? Art, no disrespect to you or MMA, it's there. I'm not dialed in, right? But, Terry, we heard so much about Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey became a household name for a little while, to the point where I would see stuff, and whether it be on Twitter or read the stories, and it was like, all right, I got to check this out. The next time she fights, I have to. And then when she lost and everybody was making such a big deal about it and everything, it was like, but thankfully I was in on that before, she lost and everything.
Here's the thing, though. Clarissa Shields just broke records over the weekend. Who's talking about it?
No, she's she's unbelievable.
We might mention it in the show as like
Clarissa Shields needs to be on national television.
1,000%.
Right.
And the world needs to hear her story. They need to hear about the community work she does. They need to hear about her story. For instance, Clarissa Shields, she gets emails all the time from guys that say, I can get into the ring and kick your ass. We need to hear that story. I'm not that much into MMA, but if I hear, I was watching the other weekend and they talk about this guy, he's unbeatable, or he got his ass kicked and he's won 8 fights in a row. He's supporting his mama. He goes back to Panama and does. Now I'm interested. Okay, this is a person to me. Now I want to hear his story. Now I want to see what he's going to do in the ring. So it's like the Olympics. What do we criticize the Olympic coverage for? They spend too much damn time on developing these personalities and not enough on the sport. The reason they do that is because we sort of don't care about the sport. But if you give me an interest or a reason to be interested in that athlete, I might watch that sport.
I'm laughing because Oscar De La Hoya.
Yes.
Do you remember how many people would have watched that fight? The girl I was dating at the time, I kid you not, said to me when he had his gold medal fight, she was like, "Hey, can we watch the De La Hoya fight today?"
Right.
And I gave it, huh? Mm-hmm. And well, the story with his mom and everything, they sold that backstory so hard that they made somebody who normally would have zero interest in watching a gold medal fight on a Sunday afternoon, like want to be all in because they added that human interest element.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, a little whippersnapper on the golf course, learning from his father. We fell in love with that story.
Sure.
And then he became one of the most iconic athletes in all of the world. We heard Michael Jordan's story over and over and over again. once they become human, then I think our interest level goes up, because when you look at sports, there's just so many games. There's happening, college basketball. You probably could have watched 12 games at the same time on a Sunday afternoon. So what's going to draw your interest? Here's what I do. If Michigan and Michigan State are not playing, I'll watch some Big Ten games, only because I know those schools. I sort of know those players. I don't know who's playing for Alabama and don't care. I don't know who's playing for Florida Gulf Coast and don't care. So I tend to closer to Michigan. That's what I'm going to watch.
So is it based on competitiveness then? You want to see the competitiveness? Because I'm hearing two different things. I'm hearing, Sean, that you want the story. Why is this person fighting? Why is this person playing ball? Then I hear Terry, and it's like, I don't care who's playing because it's competitive. It's entertaining.
Let me
No,
try.
that's not what I'm saying.
Go ahead, Terry.
Because if, for instance, Golden State, I like that team. Part of it is Steph Curry. I like what he does. They could be kicking somebody's ass by 40 points, and I'll still watch, because I'm interested in Steph Curry. I'm interested in Klay Thompson when he comes back. I was one of those few people who was supportive of KD playing with them. I said, you know what, if he wants to bring with them, fine. Let him do it. So I got all engrossed in that team, and so I watch him regardless, because I like excellence.
Well, you know what's interesting? You brought up Florida Gulf Coast, and Florida Gulf Coast in the first round is of zero interest to anybody, right? Yippee, we're going to go watch this team get crucified. But all Florida Gulf Coast has to do is win one game, and everybody's in.
Yep.
And my son lived Sister Jean in Loyola. Remember Sister Jean in Loyola? Okay, a couple years ago.
She'll be back.
Yeah, 90-year-old nun. And she was, the heart and soul of Loyola, and she literally became a household name. And I remember I called my son once, because he's at DePaul, which is just a few miles away, and I was like, hey, you watching the games and everything? He goes, yeah, we're shooting down to Loyola. What are you shooting down to Loyola for? And he goes, Dad, everybody's there. Right. He goes, the entire city of Chicago has just all condensed itself into the area of Loyola's campus. And I go, like parties and yeah, and I was like, there you go. And all they had to do was fire. Well, let's not discredit the team. The team went on a crazy run, knocked off a bunch of teams they shouldn't have knocked off. But you inject Sister Jean, and all of a sudden, boom, there's your story.
And how can you hate Sister Jean?
Can't.
If you are, there's something wrong with you.
Yep.
If you are, you're anti-religious. You're anti-something, and you should be shot.
Why do you
something.
hate women? All of that, right?
You hate women. You hate old women. Blah blah blah.
Ageist. All of that. No, it's a great point. Somebody said there was something that popped up, and NBA dunk contest needs league changes. Example: raising the hoop to 8 or something new. Dion said Clarissa is planning an MAA debut. Art, that has been out there forever and a day. I'll go to our MMA insider, Art Smith. Hello, Art.
Yeah, so right now she's going to be actively boxing and doing MMA. She signed a multiple-year deal with the PFL, Professional Fighter League, but focusing on boxing for the most part. She's still new at it. I don't think we'll see her in a cage or in an MMA environment until summer, late fall.
And you know why? Because boxing is dying.
It really is.
Now, when I was a whippersnapper, guess where I saw Marvin Hagler fight for the first time? NBC TV, free on a Saturday afternoon. Not only did I see him once, I saw him probably fight 4 or 5 times. NBC. Then it became pay-per-view. But by then, I knew who he was, so maybe I'll shell out $40. Now what boxing wants you to do is pay $40 to see Goober McGillicuddy fight some dude named Spuds McKenzie. I haven't heard of any of these dudes. Never saw them fight. Don't know where they're from. I'm not spending money for that crap.
You know what's funny? And I'm sure that you know him. You and I have probably never had a conversation over the years about him, but I got a chance to know Emmanuel Stewart a little bit. And, And it was funny because I had kind of known him for a while, and then I've always been a big boxing fan. There was a trilogy of fights in the early aughts. Irish Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti, and he was calling the fight. And Terry, that first fight is unbelievable. And it's funny because it's almost like you described. It's like Goober McGillicuddy
Right.
versus Spuds McKenzie. Most people at the time, unless you were a diehard boxing fan, had no idea who Arturo Gatti is, as strange as that sounds, or who Irish Mickey Ward is. But it was one of those fights where these two dudes went in the ring and said, somebody might die tonight. I mean, it was really one of those wars. And I started talking to Emmanuel Stewart about it, and you could see his eyes light up. Like literally. He was like, you watch that? I go, are you kidding me? That's the best fight I've seen in 10 years. And it was from then we kind of got to know each other, and we would talk about boxing and everything. But it's exactly what you said. Back in the day, you could watch Muhammad Ali and Leon Spinks in the heavyweight title
Right.
on ABC. You could watch that on a Friday night.
But that's the thing, and the UFC just signed a partnership deal with ABC, which is huge because you're selling the story, you're selling the legacies of these two fighters that are headlining and other fighters on the card. So if we're talking about women's sports and we're talking about how to excel that and make that a big deal, you have to sell the story to the fans. That's the only way it's going to work.
Yep.
People aren't going to buy a ticket just to watch people shoot hoops. You're selling the story. That's why people watch LeBron. That's why people watch Steph Curry. You're selling the story and the experience.
You know where they did a wonderful job about that? The Darlings from 1999, the U.S. women's soccer team. I mean, really. And if you remember, Brandy Chastain in the sports bra.
So I remember it's a sports bra.
Yeah, right?
That's it.
That was the story.
Case closed.
We heard all of these stories about these girls in the background, and this is, oh my gosh, this is the biggest game ever. But all anybody remembers from that is Brandy Chastain whipping off that jersey and standing like this in the sports bra. Bam.
And then later, what brought up women's soccer also? Hope Solo was a bitch and she'll kick your ass. I said, okay, I'm all in. Don't know what's going to happen today, but Hope Solo might get mad.
That's
Gotta
great.
watch this.
That's great.
You brought up Emmanuel Stewart. We used to talk once a month about boxing. And one time I asked him, where are the American heavyweight champions? And he says they're playing in the NFL at defensive end.
Yep.
He said if you got rid of the NFL, the United States would be the top heavyweight boxing nation in the world again. But now these guys are saying, okay, I'm playing the NFL. I'm going to make all this money. I'm going to get more exposure. It's my childhood sport. It's what I grew up on. And boxing takes a secondary thing. I mean, for instance, let's say Robert Porcher, who played for the Lions. He could have been a boxer.
Oh.
He could have kicked somebody's ass.
You kidding me?
Tall, strong. Lomas Brown. He didn't play defensive end, but Lomas Brown's 6'7". You know, he's a little goofy, but, he could smack somebody. And these guys are used to using their hands. Like I said before, Lomas Brown, one of his things he did, he punched you, so you wouldn't rush the quarterback. You can't tell me get a guy like Emmanuel Stewart, put him in NFL locker rooms, he could probably come up with 4 or 5 dudes who would be contenders.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating because I would say at some point in time in the 80s, the heavyweights were always the money guys, because you had these big, incredible personalities, whether it be Muhammad Ali, whether it be angry George Foreman, whether it be Joe Frazier, and anybody who liked boxing. Terry, you know this, the heavyweight division, everybody, it was Sugar Ray, it was Roberto Duran, it was Michael Carbajal, it was Marvin Hagler. It was the lower weight classes where it was like, these are unbelievable. I mean, watch Hagler Hearns. Sit there and watch that first round. If you're not laughing at the end of 3 minutes, I mean, it's beyond the point of absurdity how those guys just destroyed each other.
Right. And what happened with the heavyweight division is they became maulers. They're like, doing all like this. And I was like, okay, I've seen this. If you're not going to knock this dude out, then get out the ring.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you.
All right, we're going to talk about Michigan State. I'm going to say it again. Michigan, what does this loss mean? Nothing. Really. I don't think it means a darn thing. if they take care of business in the upcoming tournament. I'll get Terry's thoughts on that. Michigan State, it means everything. It really does. Hey, if you feel good about your interest rate because it's in the threes, get over it and call Hall Financial because rates are now in the twos. Be smart and make the call because you could be saving money. Hall Financial is fast. They do all the heavy lifting for you. So just go to davidhallmortgage.com now to get started. D. Hall's been taking care of people for years. He can take care of you as well. Hall Financial, lower payments, better options, more personal attention. We'll talk about round 2 of Michigan State. Might there be a round 3? It might be this Friday, as a matter of fact. We'll get into that. Terry Foster in on a Monday morning. So glad you can join us here on Woodward Sports.
I mean, we're inside Grow Green right now, and they have everything. I'm talking, you got your active air fans, you got your big lights over there, big pots, little pots, and Joey, what are you doing right now?
Get some sun.
That's not what those lights are for.
Feels nice.
Go to Grow Green MI today to get all your growing needs and a tan.
Terry, I've said it once. I've said it 10,000 times. I want a world where Michigan and Michigan State are both good at the same time.
You know who else wants that?
Who?
Michigan and Michigan State.
Absolutely.
Sports fans think these two schools hate each other from the standpoint that they won't cooperate with each other. That's not true. A few years ago, I had a long conversation with Tom Izzo in his office, and he talked about wanting to be Tobacco Road North, Michigan and Michigan State. Yep. And in fact, Michigan State helped Michigan when they wanted to build their new practice facility, because the way it was set up before, Michigan coaches had to walk a quarter of a mile to practice every day through the snow and the mud and the wind and everything. They wanted everything centralized, but they were told you're not going to get it until the big house is hooked up. So once the big house had their luxury suites and the new brick and made it look nice and clean, then they said, okay, now we'll focus on basketball. But meanwhile, the Michigan coaches, I think at the time it was Beeline and whoever's athletic director, they took a trip up to Michigan State, gave them lunch, gave them the whole 9 yards. Look at our facilities. Whatever help you need, we'll be able to we'll help you out. So Michigan looked at what State was doing, and some other schools in the Big Ten too, before they built their facility. And then once they got permission to build, they built something that recruits are going to come in and say, okay, I can come to Michigan. I like it here.
That's, the thing, and it's funny that you bring that up, because for years growing up watching college basketball, and I think a lot of you at home probably had to deal with that, Duke, North Carolina, at least 3 times a year, it's gag fest. It is. It's gag fest. ESPN's just going over the top. They're talking about the next Duke, North Carolina game 2 days before the game, and it's constant coverage. And then, Terry, one day it hit me. I was like, I want that. I want that. I want Michigan and Michigan State to be destination viewing for not just people around here, but people around the nation. When Michigan State play, they're going to put that on ESPN at 8 o'clock at night. That is going to be the primetime game. Not once, not twice, but then when they inevitably meet in the Big Ten tournament, like Duke and North Carolina did for so many years in the ACC tournament. You knew they were playing 3 times. You just set your watcher, they're going to play 3 times. And it's interesting because the same scenario has kind of run true in football. They just can't seem to get on the same page for any prolonged period of time in regards to, okay, Michigan State is legit and they're sticking around. Michigan is legit and they're sticking around. In basketball, we've kind of seen that for a while now, where Michigan and Michigan State are kind of like this. And it might be State, it might be Michigan, but this year it was Michigan and Michigan State here. But yesterday was awesome.
It was. And didn't we all get what we wanted this weekend? Michigan won the Big Ten title, and maybe some Spartan fans didn't want to see that. But second part, Michigan State probably got into the tournament. So we got the best of both worlds. We're going to have 2 teams in the NCAA tournament. one team is going to be the Big Ten champion. And by the way, either Michigan or Michigan State have won the last 4 Big Ten regular season championships, and that may continue because both of them have very high recruiting classes coming in. The coaches aren't leaving, and Izzo's still doing his thing. Juwan Howard is a good coach, good recruiter, and he can tell players, look, you come here, yeah, we're going to win, but I'm going to get you into the league. That's why people want to go to Michigan, because they feel they can get into the league. A second part I want to bring to this Michigan State thing, I played golf with Ward Emanuel a few years ago before he became athletic director. And obviously we talked football because he played football at Michigan, but we talked basketball too. And he thought at that time, now he was a little bit tired of Michigan State grabbing all the headlines in the winter and time, January, February, Izzo, April, all that whole thing that gets him. But he said that he thought Michigan could surpass Michigan State from this standpoint. Then when you look at the roster of Michigan State, most of those guys are from Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois. They're Midwestern kids. Ward felt that we'll still get our Midwestern kids, but we could go beyond that. We can get kids from California. We can get kids from Arizona, Florida, Germany, which they've done, because he thought that Michigan's brand had a far further reach than Michigan State's, and that if they could get the right coach, that they could accomplish that. And so far, it seems like that's what they're getting with Juwan Howard. This is Ward Manuel's vision, and they could have a good team under John Beilein, but they were never going to get these 4- and 5-star athletes because Beilein coached to his system. I'm going to get guys who are going to fit my system best, whether you're the 3rd best guy on your high school team or you're a 3-star or a 2-star. I'm going to get those guys. Juwan Howard's like, okay, who can play ball? Come on in. I'll get you in the NBA. So that's kind of Ward Manuel's vision right now, and it's playing out now. It's
amazing how many people were devastated when John Beilein shockingly left Michigan not that long ago. Now, he's probably going to be back in as soon as next year, as a matter of fact, but we'll wait and see on that. And the back and forth about Juwan Howard, and I'm going to go on the record again and say from day one, I thought it was a good hire. Did I think this? No, I didn't. Point blank, didn't think this. I thought it was a good hire. But, Terry, I think what you just described fits perfectly. Juwan Howard is a guy that can take them to the next level. I don't think there's any debate about it.
But you understand his work this season is not done.
Oh, of course not.
If, let's say they flame out the first round of the Big Ten tournament, and then they're done by the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, later on, people are going to look at this season and say, Michigan underachieved. Yeah, they won the Big Ten title, which we don't care about. It's funny. When you win the Big Ten tournament, not the tournament, but the regular season, at the time, it's a huge deal.
Sure.
Got the confetti rolling. All the players are happy. The alumni are happy. But 10 years from now, it's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
They didn't go to the Final Four. They didn't win the Big Ten conference tournaments, which I don't understand. Me, old school, maybe I'm just an old curmudgeon. I'd rather win the regular season title than the Big Ten tournament because, to me, it's more of an accomplishment. You were the best team over a 3-month period, and you had to play everybody twice, and you had to go onto their floor to play, which is real hard to do. Particularly this season, the Big Ten with the talent. Now, it would be more difficult if the arenas were full. So to me, that's more of an accomplishment than going to Chicago for 3 days and winning 3 games and then going to the tournament. So, but for the fan base, they'd rather win the tournament than the regular season.
You know what's interesting? I'm going to tie that to football because I say this all the time. I can't wait for Michigan to win the Big Ten again in football so I can stop hearing how winning the Big Ten is not important. Because the second Michigan wins the conference again, it's been so long, the second they win the conference again, people will be able to drop that. The only reason we hear it is because they haven't won it.
Well, but big fella, when you win the Big Ten, chances are you get the ultimate prize,
Bam.
and that's the semifinals of the college. Now, if they win the Big Ten conference and don't go to the semifinals, then it's like, okay, big deal.
Well, and it's interesting because so many people always do I can't tell you how many times I've heard this, well, you don't necessarily have to win the Big Ten to get into the playoff. Yeah, it's happened one time, and that's Ohio State. And I hate to tell you, you don't have the credit line of Ohio State. So why don't you start with winning your conference first, please? Take a look. Art just put this up, the brackets for this coming weekend. Of course, game 1, Minnesota Northwestern, Nebraska Penn State, as we talked about. I think a lot of people have their eyes on Thursday, Michigan State, Maryland. And if they can knock off Maryland, we have a rematch with Michigan on Friday. Terry, how much do you put into it? What does Michigan have to do to secure a number 1 seed in your mind?
I think they need to beat Michigan State or Maryland. I think they're pretty solidified as a number 1 seed, but if you lose 3 out of 4 games or 3 games in a row, then I think the committee's going to start looking at you a little bit differently. So that conference tournament does mean a lot. I think they just need to win 1 game. 1 game, and they'll secure that number 1 seed. At the worst, they'll be a number 2 seed, which doesn't hurt you that much. It puts you in a different part of the bracket, but you can still survive that.
Emotional Tom Izzo yesterday. This has been a challenging season for many, many different reasons. The one thing, Terry, that I brought this up last week, I think perhaps people forget what the expectations were in East Lansing this year. A lot of people were thinking national championship this year. Not Big Ten champions, national champions.
Right. Well, they won the national championship last year.
Yes, we know that.
On
right?
paper.
Yes. We clearly, if they would have played that out, we know that Michigan State would have won, right? We all know that.
Now, here's what I've heard for the 4th time, probably in the last 10 years. Tom Izzo's done. He's had his run. His players don't like him. That's the end of Michigan State basketball. Now, I heard that prior to them beating Illinois, beating Indiana, beating Ohio State, and beating Michigan. People overreact. And guess what's going to happen now? People are going to overreact to Michigan. Well, they lost to Illinois, who's a damn good team. They lost to Michigan State, who is very good and dangerous and could probably beat anybody in the nation. It's not like they're losing to Tulsa or CMU, God bless my school, or Washington State. They're losing to top 10 teams. But here's the other thing. I think Michigan has a better shot of making a long run in the NCAA tournament, believe it or not, than the Big Ten tournament. Because what happens is the Big Ten, they know everything that you're going to do. They know, for instance, what Michigan players like to do. They know that the big center, his favorite move is to turn inside and do a little baby hook. The rest of the nation doesn't know that. Yeah, they've seen it on film, but they haven't experienced that.
Yep.
And I always go back to the University of Wisconsin. Wisconsin, at the end of seasons, even when they won the Big Ten, by the end, it's like, okay, we got it figured out. Now, they might win, but they might beat you 44-42. So it was a slugfest, and they looked terrible doing it. And then we'd all hear okay, Wisconsin's going to be an early knockout victim. These motherfuckers in the Elite Eight playing somebody to get to the Final Four, and it's like, well, how did this happen? It's because the rest of the country doesn't know Wisconsin.
Yep.
And I'll go back. I had his name is Teddy Dupree. He played for the University of Florida. I got into an argument with this guy about Michigan State in 2000. And one of the things he said is Michigan State can't run the basketball, that we're going to run them off the floor. So after all the reporters left, I said, dude, Michigan State can run the basketball, and if you try to do that, they will kick your ass. He's like, what? I said, who are you? I said, tell him whom I was. So I said, what happens is Michigan State early in the Big Ten is running the basketball. And the Big Ten said, no, they're not doing this anymore. We're going to do everything we can to stop them from running. So now what you see is Michigan State turns into a plotting team because we're not going to let you run. So once the tournament begins, Michigan State all of a sudden is running the basketball because the scouting report is, well, they can't run the basketball. And then the scouting report is Wisconsin is this boring team full of white guys who can't play. We're gonna beat them. And then all of a sudden, these white guys turn into LeBron James, and then you're down 15, wondering what the hell happened. That's Big Ten basketball, and I think that's what's going to happen with Michigan. People in the Big Ten have them figured out because they've been on the court with them, so they might struggle. I mean, they can still win it, but they might struggle. But I think in the NCAA tournament, they got a much better shot of making a run.
You know, it's going to be interesting. Eli Brooks is huge. I mean, he means a lot to that team. We'll see how severe the injury is. I don't know. And anything else is speculation. I want to, you know what's funny? You brought up something, Terry, and I don't know what happened in the last 10 years, okay? But you brought up this is the end for Tom Izzo, and you hear it, you know, about different things. When did people start taking, and I've yelled at people, in particular on the sports radio side of things the last 10 years, when did people start taking the small and try to make it speak for the large? When did that happen? Because at some point it happened, in my opinion, in the last decade, people just wanted to take the small, and all of a sudden that sample size speaks for the large. Like Purdue has a crazy game where they knock off Ohio State. I remember this happened a few years ago. Purdue knocked off Ohio State in college football, and you're going, damn, and people are going, Sparty better watch out this weekend, man. That Purdue team is legitimate. And when they take the field, Purdue looks like the same motherfucking Purdue team that I've seen for 30 years.
And there's something wrong with Ohio State. And they just started rolling.
Urban Meyer, people figured out Urban Meyer. But, Terry, that's happened in the last 10 years. Take the small sample size and make it speak for the large. It's really weird.
Okay, whenever somebody brings up ridiculous arguments like this, I only have 2 words to say. Sample size.
Yep.
Show me over a 2-month period. Show me in football, show me 6 or 7 games where everything is jacked up. Don't show me 1 half or 1 game. Because I always go back to the great philosopher Mark Aguirre, who played for the Pistons. And sometimes
DePaul guy,
by the way. Sometimes the Pistons, even when they were winning the championships, they would just stink up the gym. They would lose by 17 or 18. And I'm like, well, damn, they just won 6. Where did this come from? And he always said this. In professional sports, and in sports in general, you're always going to spit out a bad one. You don't know when it's going to come. You know what's happening, and sometimes you can't do anything about it. It's just, you know, you take your ass kicking, you learn from it, you talk about it, and then you regroup for the next game. And sometimes you can't explain what happens in sports. I mean, for instance, Alabama is so strong, they really have to screw up to lose a game to a lot of these teams. But I think when you look at the Big Ten, everybody's got to be on their A game to win. Maybe not Ohio State, but for the most part. And Ohio State, I think sometimes they just get bored. It's like, okay, we've beaten this team 13 times in a row. Let's go roll the ball out here and beat them a 14th time in a row. It doesn't work that way all the time. Because when you're the king, everybody wants to beat you. That B receiver turns into an A receiver. That quarterback who can't hit an open guy all of a sudden is fitting it right into a thumbnail. And they beat you because you don't respect them. And that happens a lot of times. And I've had a lot of athletes tell me this. They never admit it on the record. But, yeah, they go into the games with their heads up their asses. They know they're going to win this game. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, man, these guys are serious today, aren't they? And then it's too late.
Terry, you're speaking to me because this is it. Listen, and I've had this conversation with pro athletes, and as you said, you're never going to – it is absolutely impossible to be dialed in 100% of the time.
Right.
It is an impossibility. So when you say that, I had to chuckle because, dude, we're always prepared. You're not questioning my preparation. My man, I'm not questioning your preparation.
You're human.
You're a human being.
Right.
We have down moments. I know you're a superhuman, but even superhumans have down moments. And as much as they say they don't listen, as much as they say they don't watch, they know what people are saying. If some crap team comes in here, if the San Jose Sharks come in, who had no business being in the playoffs to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. If they come in here and start, we're going to make a name for ourselves. we've had a crap franchise for 3 years. But you know what? What better way than knocking off one of the top teams in the league in the Detroit Red Wings in the playoffs? It happens. Now, the chances are less likely in a best of 7. But in that one-game scenario, Terry, how many times have we seen it? Great teams are going to get run sometime.
Right. And during the regular season, there's things that we call league games. There are probably 15 to 16 games in a season where you're going to lose. You're going to lose 80% of those games. And a lot of that has to do with I'm on the road playing a team on a Friday night. Then I got to come back and play at LC on Saturday.
Yeah.
The team I got to play is sitting up in their hotel room watching me.
Yep.
You're going to lose that game.
Yep.
Or you go on a long road trip. You play 5 games on the West Coast. That last game, you're probably going to lose. The first game back from the road trip, you'll probably win it, but you're going to look like shit doing it. And then fans are like, well, why they look so bad? It's because they're tired, because they're jet lagged, because they don't know what city they're in. So they might squeak it out, but they feel like they're still on the road and don't even know their names. But then the fan says, well, he makes $10 million a year. He can't get tired. Yeah, you can't. It doesn't matter how much money you make. The body can only do so much. And a lot of times, in college football, I know they play once a week. But if you have let's say you have a slew of games, you're playing Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, back to back to back, and then that 4th game is against Iowa, you may not perform well in that game because you've gone through the gambit and your mind is telling you, this is my break. But Iowa's like, no, we want to win. So I was like, okay, well, I got it wretched. And you may not win that game. Or you may win it 17-16 or something stupid like that.
You're talking about, it comes to my mind, the Jim Leland getaway day.
Yes.
The Thursday afternoon lineup at Comerica Park when they're about to embark on a road trip. Mm-hmm. You already know half the damn team is on the road trip.
Right.
They're already on the tarmac, okay? He's going to put up – can you imagine, especially in this day and age of gaming, how much money would be spent on the lineup that Jim Leland puts in on a Thursday afternoon? Because everybody knew – look, Terry, it was a shit lineup. All right, we got to rest my guys up. We're traveling, so we're going to sit this guy, because we have a 4-game set in Chicago. Then we have to fly to Kansas City. The getaway day was real, and the Tigers might be playing the worst team in the league. Did it matter on that Thursday afternoon? Absolutely not.
No, and they would have played the night before.
Exactly.
And Jim Leland didn't go home.
No,
he stayed at the office.
Yeah, exactly. Breaking news, actually, from my son of all people.
All right.
Do you know what he just texted me? He said they announced in Chicago that Wrigley and U.S. Cellular Field are going to be open for fans on opening day. So I asked him how many fans are going to be there, and he doesn't know yet. So he immediately asked me how many fans are going to be at Comerica Park. It's like 750 or something, right? Isn't that the number that they said?
I thought it was 1,000. I thought it was 750, and they upped it to 1,000.
Is that what it is?
That seems ridiculous.
Hi, Fish.
Yeah, it's 1,000 at Comerica Park. I'm imagining Chicago is going to be 10%.
Yeah. Well,
how come they can't have 10,000 at Comerica Park?
Because we're not that state.
Okay, the state is opening.
I mean, if you want to get political, we can.
Jam restaurants again. Even Dr. Fauci, my wife, let me out today to go to the dentist. We can't have 10,000 people at Comerica.
We're not a Republican state. Sorry I said it, but that's the truth.
All right.
I don't get it, but whatever. I know he's happy because he's lived right across the street, like literally like a block away from Wrigley. So he's excited. He's like, Dad, of all the years I had to pick living here. And I was like, you're a Baligian. Of course something like that has to happen. But
maybe you can get in.
I'm gonna go there. I'll visit him. It's a fun time. It's a fun time.
Can't he watch from those stands in the apartments behind it?
But you know what? They were those were on high demand last year. Oh, yeah, they were in high demand last year, as you can probably imagine. Well, you know who the White Sox are the team. I would want to head over to U.S. Cellular. I know it's a bad area and all that stuff. And South Side. There are these things called subways that literally drop you off right across the street from the park. The White Sox are the exciting team to me,
I
Terry.
know, but it's not as much fun.
No, it
over
isn't.
there.
It just isn't. Steve said Penguins have around 2,800 as of this weekend, and they're saying the Pirates will have around the same. Terry, I've said this here, but I'll say it to you. There are two things that I miss more than anything in this strange last year. I miss going to a movie theater. I really do. I miss going to see a movie, even if it's a movie that I'm taking my daughter to that she really wants to see, that I know damn well I'll be fast asleep within 10 minutes. I miss going to the theater, and I miss going to games. I do. I miss it desperately. I can't believe how much I miss it.
I want to hang out at Comerica this summer.
Yep. I'll get tickets. Count on it.
I will actually go to Tiger games, and I may not sit in the stands, but I like going out to right field with the bar out there.
Yeah.
Meeting people, sitting in a deck chair, watching the game live and watching the game on TV. To me, that's a blast. And you meet people and you talk bullshit and you have a good time. And then the gift shop is right across the way. If you want to buy a T-shirt or a hat, just go get it. To me, that's fun.
Yep.
That's adult fun.
Yep.
So I enjoy it. So I'll probably show that. And by the way, Comerica, I'm serious about this. We're going to have Fedora Day at Comerica Park one day. I don't know what game it's going to be. Hopefully we can get in there and do Fedora Day.
You catch me. I'll wear a fedora. I'll wear a fedora.
Okay.
Now, how odd would I look wearing a fedora? But I'll wear a fedora.
You can even wear a Montreal Canadiens cap if you want. I don't care. We'll call that an El Fedora or something.
Now, Terry, my favorite seats in the park, I loved sitting in the mezzanine. I loved it out in the right field, and you walk along, that plank or whatever the heck it is to the right field area where you talked about, where there's the couple bars now, and then they have, what is it, the jungle or whatever it is. We moved downstairs. My son wanted to move downstairs after a few years, and they were nice seats behind the first baseline and everything, but I like up there. I'm with you. Put me out in the mezzanine, out in right field, and let me walk behind the right field bleachers. That area is so much fun. It's vibrant. It's life. It's a good time.
Let's be
there.
around people.
Yeah.
Me, when I was covering games, I was in the press box. I would always leave the press box because at some point I said, I know I'm here to cover a game and be professional, but I want to have fun, even if it's for 15 or 20 minutes. So I would always leave the press box, go get myself a snack, go out to the right field, and then I come back and become professional again. Because I figure if you're going to go to a baseball game, you should have fun a little bit.
All right, so now I have to fish. I have to tell my kid that they upped it to 1,000, huh? So I'm going to tell him right now because he's already hit me up, Terry. He's coming home for Easter weekend, and he was like, "Dad, the Tigers are home that weekend. Can we go?" I'm like, "Absolutely." Well, I'm going to try. If they let in 1,000 in the day before Easter, heck yeah. Will I go down there? Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll try to get
once again, I'm confused. How can you allow 1,000 in LCA, which is an enclosed arena? Last time I checked, they don't have an opening at the LCA, right? Mm-hmm. They still have that roof up there. Okay. But
it's not retractable.
But then you get a larger venue that's outdoors, and you still have to have the same amount of people. Color me confused. I don't get it. Can someone help me?
I have some thoughts on that in a second. Arthur has his hand up. Art, you don't have to raise your hand.
I know.
Mr. Blissful is here.
My arm was getting, jeez, it's so sore from all these weeks. According to ABC Chicago, capacity will be limited to 20% to start the season.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
So 20% of what's
40,000?
Yeah, it's about 43, I think, something.
Okay, let's say it's 40,000.
Okay.
10% is 4,000. 20% is 8.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Pandemic.
That's
okay.
fine.
I can make that compromise.
Terry, what you just talked about, and Art and Fish, you're probably sick and tired of hearing this. I bang the drum hard for the winter athletes to play. And yes, before you accuse me of it, of course, a large part of it was because of hockey.
Okay.
But the logic that people used was not very scientific and was incredibly hypocritical, because the first thing that people would say is, well, this is close contact indoors. We can't have that. And I said, did you watch volleyball? The fall just completed. Did you watch volleyball? Did you watch football? Well, football's outside. Well, actually, no. They finished the last 3 weeks predominantly inside in a lot of small places.
Right.
And I said, to me, just be consistent. If there's some science behind it, I'm all for it, okay? I don't want to mess around with the pandemic or anything. But I think when you're telling winter kids, hey, you don't get your chance, even though the kids in the fall had pretty much the exact same scenario, a lot of people had an issue with that. And I think, I could be wrong, I think the Health and Human Services and the governor of our state eventually realized, yeah, that would be hypocritical if we told the basketball kids, the wrestlers, the hockey kids, hey, football played games inside in big arenas like Ford Field and sometimes not so big arenas. Volleyball played inside in small arenas, but you can't do it. And I think common sense won out eventually. And you know what?
Thank God, finally.
Well, and you know what? Thank the good Lord, we're not seeing any spikes. These kids knew all along. I said it on these very shows. Look, if there's a case, shut her down. But give them the chance, because some football teams, it didn't go off without a hitch in the fall. Some football teams had to shut down.
But I also think it was not just common sense, but I think some basketball coaches, like Greg Campy at OU,
great.
at
Loved
Oakland.
it. Yep.
I'm not supposed to call it OU. That's Oklahoma. But at Oakland University, Tom Izzo, Juwan Howard, and others are like, what are we doing here? Let these kids play. And I think they listened to them and said, okay, let's open it up. We goofed.
And you know what? Again, you know, unfortunately, some football teams had to shut it down. And there have been some hockey teams, I can speak to that have had to shut it down. Not for the season, thankfully, but you know, one team was quarantined for 10. I know another quarantine was. It wasn't going to go off without a hitch. But you know what? Let's be adult here, and I'm not taking shots when I say this. To all the doom and gloom crowd that said things are going to spike up and we're going to see thousands of deaths and myocarditis and everything, it hasn't happened.
Still need to listen to those people.
1,000%.
You need to listen to everybody.
Listen, 1,000%.
Right.
1,000%. Don't take that as a, ha, you're wrong. But those things have not happened. And thankfully, because kids have been pretty responsible for the most part.
Matt made a comment on YouTube and says, as a guy who supported Whitmer on here last week, it's because they're just making blanket answers. Hopefully they'll own up to it soon. So making blanket answers, just a one for everything is what Matt on YouTube is referring to.
The issue that I've had, and I spoke very bluntly about this last week, and I have no problem speaking bluntly about it again, if you are going to tell everybody at every turn science is dictating our decisions, and yet you can't provide science to justify some decisions that were made later, I think as a human being, regardless of whether you like Governor Whitmer or you don't like Governor Whitmer, a human being is going to say, wait a second, what is this? Where's the science that supports this? And I think that's been the issue with a lot of people like me, Terry. If you say, here is the science behind something, I'm in. I'm listening. Okay? If you aren't supporting a decision with science, I think a lot of people are going to say, well, wait a second, I thought everything was science-based. And I think, unfortunately, we've kind of gone into that territory.
Right. Here's what I like about Governor Whitmer. The deaths went down in Michigan, and so did the total cases with whatever she did. Here's what I don't like, and this is about politicians in general. She just had her own people making the decisions.
100%.
I believe this, and maybe I can't be a politician, but I don't understand why Democrats don't say, okay, let's include Republicans in on these decisions and talk. Yeah, we're going to argue, we're going to disagree, but get more eyes on the prize. But instead, what happens, Republicans go into a room and they make decisions, and then they come out with these plans that are flawed, and then somebody else says, no, you can't do this because of this, and like, oh, we didn't think about that. So why can't we get the whole group of politicians, Democrats, Republicans, independents, the fish fly committee, whatever you have, let's all get into a room and iron this out. Because supposedly we live in a smart society, right? Yep. If I have a huge issue that like a pandemic, would I rather have 8 people tackle this, or would I rather have 50 people try to tackle this? I'd rather have the 50.
Art, does that sound familiar? I don't know if you were watching the show last week. And Terry, I got a lot of shit from some people out there.
Give me shit.
Yeah,
I don't
and
care.
well, you know, it was interesting. I was called Rush Limbaugh and all of those things, and that's fine, you know, because what I'm going to do, whether you like to hear it or not, is spit fact. And what Terry just said is pretty much what I said, all right? Our governor decided to circumvent the legislature. That's not how our government works. I have a problem with that. I would have a problem with that whether our governor was Democrat, Independent, Republican, whatever the case may be. I have a problem with that. And as I said last week, Terry, to your point, people shouldn't get mad at you for saying that.
Just don't call me Rush Jr. That's all I've got to say.
People shouldn't get mad at me for saying that. Don't take our word for it. Ask the Michigan Supreme Court. The Michigan Supreme Court ruled that what she was doing was unconstitutional. That wasn't Terry Foster. That wasn't Sean Baligian. But today, Terry, unfortunately, we live in such an era where unless you agree lockstep with somebody, clearly you are against her. And I don't agree lockstep with anybody. I don't. I can't think of one human being in my lifetime that, boy, Art and I are always on the same page 100% of the time. And it's like, it's okay to say that was unconstitutional because, you know what? It was.
I think that mentally, as Americans, I don't know if we could handle another lockdown.
I'm with you.
I don't think we could all come together and once again go through the thing of stocking up on toilet paper and raiding the grocery store and then staying home. I think we all as people, whether you want to admit it or not, we're done. We're frustrated. We're mentally just broken from this. This is a once in a lifetime thing.
There is a fog that I don't know about you guys that has engulfed me in the past week as we're nearing the 1 year anniversary. And I'll never forget being at the local Kroger in Northville. And
Did you buy that lottery ticket?
my son and I were walking down the aisle, and it was kind of funny, I'm not going to lie, all right? And obviously, I'm not making light of anybody passing away. Everything was gone. It was like, why are we even here? Everything's gone.
Right.
But then what was interesting about it, I know my son well enough that it was, oh my gosh, this is funny, all the toilet paper's gone. And yet I could see it in his eyes, Terry, that there was genuine, holy crap, what's going on? You know what I mean? And I had a conversation with him, as I'm sure you did with your kids, where I said to him, I said, Jack, I'm supposed to tell you that everything's going to be okay, and I've seen something like this before. I've never seen anything like this, okay?
I never understood the toilet paper thing. Why did the toilet paper disappear?
Fish says he knows.
Did you buy like 20 rolls of toilet paper?
No, there was a rumor going around that COVID causes diarrhea at the start. So that's why everyone went for toilet paper.
Oh my goodness.
If you could make a drop of that would be, if we, fish, please make a drop of that. That would be, and just whenever somebody's got diarrhea of the mouth, make sure you play Fish.
Bam.
Right there. Terry, the frozen food aisle was that, like, I have that mental image. I didn't have to take a picture. I have it in my head right now. I remember standing in the frozen food aisle, and my son and I burst into laughter. Everything was gone. Everything was gone.
Actually, we went through this before. Y2K. When we turned to 2000, the world was supposed to turn to shit, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I'm yelling at my wife. I don't yell at her, but she's like, 2000's coming. We got to go get bottled water. I said, honey, what's going to happen? She said, well, I don't know. All the toilet paper be gone. We might, all the clocks going to be messed up. Deliveries might come. I said, look, nothing is going to happen. I'm not buying any bottled water because we don't need any. And guess what happened when the calendar turned 2000? Not a damn thing. Life went on as normal. But you know what? We had all the Pine Sol, toilet paper, whatever, in the basement. And people probably still haven't used it.
I'm having flashbacks. I hope you know where my mind is right now.
Did you get a bunch of hockey pucks or something? Or what did you do?
Do you remember? We worked with somebody at the time who was all in on Y2K. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Fill me in.
Mr. Pate.
Oh, yes, he sure was.
Mr. Pate was convinced I mean, it was, and at first I kind of thought he was joking about it, but then I realized, no, he's serious. So you know what I did? I just like, I didn't want to give him any more angst than he already had, but I remember.
See, you're mean. You're a closet mean guy.
You need to do something fierce, Terry. It was. Oh my gosh, nothing happened. Are you guys aware of that? Like seriously, like you younger guys fish.
Were you born fishing?
That
2000?
was a thing.
I remember watching the clock, watching the ball drop with my grandma. And we were like, what happens when it strikes midnight? Like, we just turn into dust? And nothing happened.
You're
I
all
remember
supposed
the
to
computer
die.
thing. It was the
Yep.
computers. They were like,
Yep.
the computers can't go
The
to
computers
2000.
can't
They
reset.
don't know how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple comments. Steve said, I'm getting burned out. I enjoy not having the hour-plus commute to work, but I miss going out to the mall, restaurants, et cetera, et cetera. Kevin said, so many suicides during this crap. How many lost small businesses? Why is Bill Gates being treated like a doctor?
Here's a comment.
I can't figure that one out.
I'd like you to respond to this, Sean. Somebody had said on YouTube, mentally broken from sitting at home watching TV, eating snacks. Now, to me, it's so much more than that. It's about not having the freedom to go and do as you please. And I understand we're in a lockdown. We got to do what we got to do. But now it's more than that.
I think, look, structure and social companionship for kids alone is monstrous. I mean, put yourself in that position. I'll use my daughter. You're a sophomore in high school. The last year of your life you haven't had that.
Right.
And you have a bunch of your friends that are flat out scared, that don't want to even go outside. And yes, both of my kids have friends that are like, they're freaked out. And I respect that. Like, I'm not talking down anybody. You do what you feel comfortable with. You can't tell me that's good.
Do you know what my social outlet is today?
What's that?
You.
Come on. When are you coming over again? Come on. I'm serious. We'll fire up the smoker. We had so much fun, Terry, in the summer. I'm not joking. We kind of made our own bubble. There's no other way to say it. Mm-hmm. Where we just became our own bubble. And me and a few of my buddies and, guys that, I didn't know, we just made our own bubble. 2-3 times a week, we'd sit in my backyard. Smoker's rolling. Terry, Terry, you're doing your ribs today. I'm going to do a brisket. You do some sausages. You tried to turn positives out of what was an incredible negative. There's no other way to say it. Going into work, right? I hated doing shows from home. Now, there have been times in this business where I've had to do shows from home, and that's one thing. But if I have my druthers, can I go into work and be in the social setting, or do I have to sit in my office all day? I hated it for a month, and then you know what? Now, I kind of like it. I got used to it. Right. I became accustomed to it. So now my other job, there is no word on when it's going to open. I've heard a rumor that they're not going to let anybody back in the building for the rest of the year. For the rest of 2021, no one's going to be in the building. You know what? I miss it. I miss seeing people up close, Terry, like you and I are looking at each other. I miss that.
Right.
I
because
do.
We are a social society. We're not used to isolation. We're not used to being by ourselves. And if we are, then we just get up and go somewhere and meet somebody.
Yep. Somebody said, I miss the movies. Oh, it was Woodward Sports. I miss the movies on Sundays with my family. I cannot wait to take my son to a Lions game. That's number one on I miss going to the movie. The kids, there's always some big movie coming out. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be asleep 15 minutes into it. But having the option to go there with my daughter and watch her get so excited to go see, whatever the latest movie is. Are you kidding me? You can't put a price tag on that.
Right. But now, we're watching movies at home now. I mean, we want to watch Coming to America, probably at home. We watch, what's happening now, we're getting eaten up by apps. Buy this app, only $12.99 a month, and you get to see this latest movie for free. And so that's what we've been doing.
Art, did you hear the big rumor? Because, Art, I know you're a horror guy like me. The big rumor out there is no way, no how is Halloween Kills going to be delayed again. If worse comes to worse, they're just going to stream it. I don't want to stream it.
No.
You know what? I want to go to the theater with the same group of guys, Terry, that went to the theater with me 32 years ago to see, Halloween 4. I want to do that.
I'll tell you, I watched Denzel Washington, Jared Leto, The Little Things, and it was an HBO exclusive stream. So I literally went to my friend and said, hey, do you have a username and password? And that's how I watched it. I can't tell you the amount of joy that I get. Me and my buddy were horror movie buffs. We go, we get the popcorn, you get the pop, and you sit there and watch a movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's the experience. Yep. They're taking it away.
What about Dolby sound?
Yeah, I love that.
You know what? When you go to the movie, I like when it starts off when they go bzzz, that whole thing.
Yep.
Before the movie even starts.
Oh, it's beautiful. Hey, we're going to talk about the NFL. So it looks like 17 games is a reality. It's not official yet, but Terry, I think you know this better than anybody. Sources are saying so. The NFL likes to put out their balloons, and I think 17 games is coming. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of that. How might it change game watching for you? First, I want to remind you can start a new career in an industry that is always essential, the heating and cooling industry. Learn more today by visiting northwesterntech.edu. And, oh, by the way, Perfect Bracket Playoff is here. Woodward Sports and Hall Financial want to pay off your mortgage. Hall Financial will pay off your house up to $500,000 if you guess the perfect bracket. Starting Selection Sunday, now that's just 6 days from now, folks, you will have a chance to go to woodwardsports.com and fill out your perfect bracket. And if you don't get a perfect bracket, we still have some awesome prizes for you. How about this? PS5, a 65-inch TV, a Detroit-made Shinola watch, and we even have something for last place, and that's a brand new toilet. NFL making another schedule change and having the 17th week as well. They're planning to make that a yearly thing. We'll tell you the details. Terry Foster, Sean Baligian, this is Woodward Sports.
Hi, I'm David Hall from Hall Financial. And at Hall Financial, we treat our clients like family. And our number one priority is giving each of our clients 5-star service. Our passion for 5-star service, combined with our expertise, allows us to find the best possible solution for refinancing your home loan. We take the time to focus on both the individual and the numbers. We're going to walk you through the process and close your loan in half the time of our competition. Go to davidhallmortgage.com today.
What's up? So glad you could join us. 12:30 here on Woodward Sports. Don't forget the Hook coming up later. Art, before we get into the NFL thing, how was the first week of the Hook? How was it with you? Because, again, Art is the hardest working man here. Don't let him tell you otherwise or anybody else tell you otherwise. Art is the hardest working man here. How was it the first week, my friend?
Good. Entertaining. I like when Darren checks Maz. That's my favorite thing. And they don't do it often, but it's enough to where it's like, get him. But Pilar's great. Darren McCarty's great. Tom's great, obviously. Fish on the board. It's been a great show.
Yeah, you got to check Maz, but I always feel guilty about doing it because Maz is just.
He's so nice.
He's a little nice guy.
He's just a nice guy.
Those little doe eyes and
you say something bad to him and he just
okay. Yeah, he looks real sad. Like, well, I thought everyone agreed with me.
I used to joke with Maz. It's almost like he's powering the computer down. Like you put, and it's slow, and it's like, stay with me, Maz. Go to the light. You're gonna be okay.
Here's where you got to check the brother. When he starts talking about his little stupid New York Yankees, you need to tell him to shut up.
Or
this is not New York.
Even worse is when he says that Brady isn't the GOAT and you ask him why. Oh, because I'm a New York guy. That's your reason?
Yeah,
Get
that
the hell
doesn't make
out
sense.
of here.
That makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
But what do we do here in Detroit? Sidney Crosby sucks because we're from Detroit. Meanwhile, he's scoring game-winning goals in the Olympics. Winning Stanley Cups, but the guy sucks.
He's a generational player.
Right.
Do you know how many times he is so stinking good? If when you want me to check out of a conversation, tell me how much Sidney Crosby checks out. Okay, I remember never to talk hockey with you again. Have a great life. I mean, he's so fucking good. I don't care whether you hate him or not. It's inconsequential. He's so good.
But you hear that?
No, you sure do. No doubt.
My.
What do you think about this 17-game schedule?
Okay, NFL players, here. You guys are big, strong guys. Show some balls, will you? Here's what we've heard all along. The NFL doesn't care about us. The NFL makes us do more and more and more, but they don't want to pay us. They don't want to give us, they don't want to protect our bodies. We're just these commodities. You're going to allow owners to put a 17th game on you and you're not getting anything in return? At the very least, tell the NFL owners, okay, we'll do it, but expand our damn rosters. Expand it by 5 people. Spend some money. You're getting an extra paycheck. And I think, if you have an extra game, that's like $6-7 million per game. Get something for yourself, players. Just don't let them bang you upside the head. Don't let owners get all this money and put you at risk for an additional game for the season without something in return.
People don't understand. I hope you heard what Terry just said, okay? I like Fish, Art, I'm going to ask you guys this, and I want you guys have to be the guinea pig. I'm sorry, right? You guys understand the term game check? That's the only check they get, right? You get that, right? There aren't checks that come in the summertime.
What? They're not getting sponsorship checks?
No, I'm talking, but for playing football,
Okay,
from the team itself, they're not paid for those exhibition games. They get a game check in week 1, and they get a game check every game after that, and then that's done.
Let me ask you. You cover games.
Yeah.
Someone says to you, hey, you got to do 16 games this year, and you might have to do 17. You're going to say, pay me.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, making millions or not, I don't care. Your work is money. So you're going to pay me for that 17th game.
Well, here, do you know, I could be wrong here, but I think everybody's fatigued with fake football, with exhibition football. I think everybody is fatigued.
Yeah.
And even, Terry, in my lifetime, I'll call me out. It's not that bad. It's a good opportunity to take your kids to a game.
It's the most boringest shit in the world.
It's awful. Openly
And
admit it.
this is like they used to have 6 exhibition games. Oh, and by the way, you can't call them exhibition games. The NFL gets mad at you. They're preseason games. No, they're exhibition games because they don't mean anything.
But, to your point, Terry, that's how I would justify it 10, 15 years ago. Well, you know what? I don't get the long lines. I don't get angry swearing guy where I have to say earmuffs to my kids. It's good time. No, it's awful. It's awful. It just nobody has an interest in it. But Terry, you're absolutely right. And I've said this to Joik before, okay? For all the big talk that I hear from the NFL Players Association, and we've heard it for years, and fill in the names, whether it be Richard Sherman, whether it be whoever it be back in the day, Thurman Thomas, all these guys that were vocal, why don't they get more? Why doesn't D. Smith get more? What?
Well, they always back down. The owners always say, well, the league is we just go through players. Your career, your future is not guaranteed because the league is so violent. I understand that. I get it. But if you're going to add games, then add players. Share. I mean, they're always here's what the public does. The public always comes down on the players because we know how much Richard Sherman is making. We know how much Matthew Stafford is making. We know how much Joik Bell is making. But what we don't know is how much the owners are making. They're making billions of dollars.
You got it.
Right.
Could you guys see, and I know this might be a stretch, could you see a lockout happening? Like, I know it's a stretch, but if the players say, listen, you're paying us for 16, not 17, we're not playing.
If I was in charge, there'd be a damn lockout.
Right.
If I was in the players' union, 100%.
Yeah.
100. Now, it's interesting because the scenario that Terry just described, and Terry, I know you know this, when the NHL was out for a full year, okay, the critical mistake that the Players Association made, and the Players Association had lost his job because of this, is they played us the show us the books card. They played the show us the books card. And you know what the NHL owners did, unlike the NFL owners? They said, okay, here you go.
Right.
Here you go. What do you guys need to see? And the second that happened, it was over. Now, of course, they had to prolong it to try to weasel their way out of it, and Bob Goodenow had to delay it because I think he knew that was end game for him. But on that day, it was all over. And the NFL players won't do that, or the NFL owners won't do that. You're not going to. Jerry
NHL,
Jones opened his books for you? Are you kidding me?
The NHL, I mean, they know those guys are not bringing in that bank. They don't have a good TV deal. They're relying a lot on fans showing up for their games, and everybody's not paying full price. So yeah, that was a mistake on their part. In NFL, you don't need anybody in the stands to pull a profit. You got TV. Jerry Jones has got Pepsi when he's not supposed to have it, and they just bring it in.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing. You know, the one thing I've noticed in my life about the NFL is the NFL knows it can do what it wants because it's the king. They whether it be with fans, whether it be with their players. Terry, how many times in our lifetime have people been up in arms about fill in the blank? I can't believe we're adding another playoff. What? Another game on Thanksgiving? This is so disrespectful. Because you know what the NFL does? They go like this. Shh. They stay quiet for a year. They stay quiet for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, everybody loves it. I'm a perfect. That third game on Thanksgiving, Terry, kicking and screaming and yelling. You know what? Brilliant. NFL, you won again.
And I'm usually asleep for that game.
Well,
that turkey's working on me by then.
My nap comes at some point in the third or fourth quarter of the crappy Cowboys game, and then I get my second win and eat like the turkey sandwich, and then I fall asleep in the second quarter of that third game.
The NFL is the bull in the china shop.
Yep.
Look what happened at 9/11. Everybody's trying to figure out, when are we going to come back? I don't know. When is the right time? When is the country going to be out? NFL's like, fuck, we opening next weekend.
Yep.
So they open, everybody else like, okay, we're good. Let's get our games going. So they can do whatever they want, and we fall in line.
Yep.
But at the same time, you guys would love to see 25 games a year. I mean, let's be honest.
No, I don't.
No?
I don't.
No. Personally,
no. I
Uh-uh.
want football to be special. 16 games is special. 14 games is special. And 17 might be special. But if I'm a player, I'm like, no, you're not adding on games unless you're adding on players and giving me more money. Because this is a business.
And what they're doing with the 17th game, in case people haven't seen this, is they're trying to make it, as Terry used the word, special. The 17th game is going to be kind of its own entity. Where in this year, the rumor, it's not official yet, the rumor is the 17th game is going to be hosted by all the AFC teams. So an AFC team is going to be hosting an NFC team. And then in 2022, the NFC is hosting all the AFC teams. And the way that they're configuring it is through the cross-divisional thing of, well, this team finished in this place, this team finished in that place. So they're trying to match accordingly from the season before.
So they've got a plan. And
Yes.
like you said, it's the bull in the china shop effect.
Yep.
How do you take this to the players and have the players say, okay, we'll do one extra game? How do you do that?
Well, this was a deal that was already agreed upon a couple years ago, if you remember. Complete with, it was the NFL's option, not the players, the NFL's option to add the 17th game either this season or next season. And to the surprise of absolutely nobody, the NFL is going to add a 17th game this season.
So then, with doing that, do you grab your 16 checks and you cut them down by 1/16th, and then they get the 17th check? I mean, I see so many contract negotiations happening then, because right now that's not the model. So what do you do?
Well, what's interesting, Terry, you can probably even speak better to this than I can. There have been people that have been saying for the last few years that the next negotiation between the players union and the owners is going to be doomsday. No, really, this time we might not see NFL this fall. And then you know what? Like Terry, something always happens. Something always happens, and the players back down and go, well, okay, I guess that'll be good enough. And
do you know why they back down? Because there's some slug. You know, we always remember the guys that are making big bank in the NFL, but there's a bunch of slugs in the NFL who don't have $4, $5, $6 million in their bank account. They probably, played a couple years. They made a nice amount of money, maybe $600,000 or $700,000, which is good money. That's good, but that's not enough to set you for life.
Sure.
So you still need to work. unless a job at Kroger isn't going to help you. So I think the owners put the players making big bank against the lesser. Well, look at your brother here. Your brother isn't making $20 million a year, so you're going to screw him by going on strike? So I think there's a guilt thing, and the owners seem to always have that hammer, and they're willing to swing it.
The last NFL lockout, correct me if I'm wrong, 2011, correct?
Yeah.
And it was 132 days.
Yeah.
If
What's
we're going
interest-
through this pandemic still, could you imagine not only dealing with the pandemic but losing football as a fan's perspective? It's gonna be terrible.
Do you guys remember a couple of years ago? It's amazing how these things always find a way to get out in the open and everything. But the NFL Players Association was sending letters to its constituents, like Terry said, basically saying, "You guys start stocking your money now." Because these negotiations aren't getting good. And you know what? It's amazing. How did this find the light of day, right? And add 2 and 2 together. Right. There's a reason it got out there.
Here's a little dirty little secret. Athletes don't know how to stock money away. They're in the spend mode. I'm making $12 million this year. Another 14 are coming next year. So I'm gonna buy myself a Lamborghini and a second house for the hell of it.
Yeah.
Wasn't the labor deal supposed to end in 2021 too?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're about to hit a rough patch.
Oof.
I don't think it's going to be doomsday, though. I think
I didn't say doomsday, but a rough patch.
Yeah. All the people, in fairness, I'm not saying that Terry said that, but to the people that have been calling for doomsday for the last couple of years, I'm not hearing that anymore.
Okay. But
we're not going to see football in 2021. Bullshit.
What about an extra, if they're going to do the 17-game schedule, and Joel brings this up, what about an extra bye week?
No, it's not happening.
There you go.
For what it's worth. They're pushing the Super Bowl back 1 week. So now the Super Bowl, instead of being the first week of February, is now going to be mid-February.
Okay.
Happy Valentine's Day at the Super Bowl.
And, I'm just going to say, a lot of babies happen around Valentine's Day. Maybe that will maybe put a stop to that. Hey, sweetheart, we can't tonight. It's football.
Candy sales is going to go down.
I was going to say, I have a feeling my wife's going to be getting a rack of ribs for Valentine's Day when the Super Bowl's on. What's up, Fish?
The Super Bowl is also President's Day weekend. A lot of people were pushing for that.
Yeah, they're saying 1 week later. Yep, 1 week later.
Okay, everybody has always said Monday should be a holiday after the Super Bowl. So that makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bam.
That's
it's not
the
a
sell.
big holiday, but it's a holiday.
That's why people were pushing for it.
I'll never forget our President's Day show here at Woodward Sports. It's just awesome. We talk presidents all day.
By the way, Sean, if that does happen, I know how to make chocolate-covered strawberries. I'll make some for your wife.
Let's go.
And say it's from you.
Let's
make you look good.
She won't believe it.
Like, look, baby, look what I did for you.
She will buy it for a second.
And lie to her. So these strawberries are $6 a piece.
Hey, with March Madness right around the corner, MyBookie is the place to go, and they are offering a shot at a share of $10,000 with the My Bracket contest. It's only a single dollar entry. Got the NBA tipping off every other day, not one but two UFC pay-per-view cards and plenty of intense NHL action at your fingertips. So regardless of your favorite player or team, whether you're betting first or third period totals, you've got a choice from thousands and thousands of lines and prop bets on all sports, and it's all at one place. It's MyBookie. But you got to take the initiative. You got to make the first step. Get a head start by signing up today with promo code Woodward, and they'll match your first deposit halfway up to $1,000. That is free cash credited to your account instantly on top of your deposit. The best part is you always have access to the action, whether you're at home or you're on the go. Visit the website online or on your phone at mybookie.ag and make sure to use that promo code Woodward to grab yourself that deposit bonus. Bet anything, bet anytime, bet anywhere with MyBookie. All right, to close it out, TJ Hawkinson had some fine words about Matthew Stafford as a human being. Terry Foster has a fine question for all of us, and we'll close it out on a Monday. So glad you could join us. So glad Terry can be with us on Monday right here on Woodward Sports.
You don't fumble the ball at work. Hey, Drake Bell, Sean Baligian. See you guys next weekend.
I'll so wait till it comes to New Zealand for that ale.
Yeah, Lynn knows me too well. Lynn said chocolate-covered bacon is what Sean will make for his wife. She'd believe it more then.
I bet that's good though.
Oh, it's very good. You do that little candied.
But you know what? You brought. See, you always stimulate my mind. If you go to Portland, there's this place called Voodoo Donuts, and if you go to Voodoo Donuts, you can get chocolate-covered donuts with bacon bits on it. Crazy good.
Did you hear that? By the way, keep April 17th open, okay? We're having a big barbecue. I hope you can make it. Saturday, April 17th.
All right.
I haven't told you. I don't know if I told you yet. So
I'll be clear from Dr. Fauci then.
All right. Fantastic. No, you had an interesting question. In case you guys saw it, TJ Hawkins had said Matthew Stafford, in essence, is a good dude. He's the best player he's ever played with. Most of the guys in the Lions dressing room are going to be rooting for him to win the Super Bowl. You had two questions in regards to that.
Yeah, my first question is, I don't believe that most players in the locker room are going to be rooting for him to win a Super Bowl. Because if you couldn't win it here, then I don't necessarily want to see you win it somewhere else. Now, I'm not rooting against you, but I think in pro sports, when you're gone, you're gone. When you're my teammate, you're the best guy in the whole world, and when you're gone, that's it. Now, T.J. Hawkinson said, not with me. I'm rooting for him to win a Super Bowl. My question is this. Are people in Detroit, like supposedly the Lion players in that locker room, rooting for Matthew Stafford to win a Super Bowl with the L.A. Rams? And are you rooting for him? Or do you just don't care?
The first question is, Terry, I think there are probably a few guys that feel that way. I don't think it's in mass at all. And I really don't. I don't wish ill will on Matthew Stafford, but Matthew Stafford not having success would benefit the Detroit Lions mightily. So I have to think in terms of what benefits my team. If Matthew Stafford and the Rams fall flat on their face and let's say finish 4-12, and the Lions finish 4-12. Sure. Do you know what that means? That helps my team.
You get probably the 4th and 5th pick.
I want whatever helps my team. No disrespect to Matthew, no ill will towards him. I tend to agree with everything that TJ said. Good dude. I mean, really, legitimately, I'm not being PC. Good dude. I don't give a damn about Matthew Stafford's success when it affects my team. None.
But,
Zero.
One of the reasons we bring that up, when Justin Verlander is with the Houston Astros, all these Tiger fans, go Justin, go, baby, win that World Series. So we don't have the same love for Matthew Stafford?
You know what? Because there wasn't something hinging on it with Justin Verlander. And I did not – I rooted for Justin Verlander, but if anything, I'll tell you point blank, for me, it pissed me off more when I watched those Tigers win the World Series, because I will always say that a part of me died in 2013. How that team with that pitching staff and that lineup didn't win, honestly, a part of me, I was so convinced that was the year. That was
crazy. And then they played a bad team, St. Louis. They were 83 and 79 in 06.
Yep.
How could you not? You know why they didn't win? The curse of Ford Field. If you remember, they had a week off. They couldn't practice at Comerica. Where did they practice?
Oh, boy.
Ford Field.
Oh, boy.
They got that Lions dust on them.
They got that You went into the Lions. No, but I mean, I hope everybody, no ill will towards 9 at all. But when it affects my team, screw you. I don't want to see him blow out his knee, anything like that. But you know what? I hope he's incredibly mediocre, and I hope that the Rams fall flat on their face, because it helps me. What helps my team is that's my vision. That's what I have to keep my focus on. So
Amen.
Nothing personal, bro. Just business.
What if he sucks for 2 years and then 6 years from now they're good again? And they're competing for Super Bowl.
Best of luck to you, dude.
Okay.
Best of luck to you. Right now, today, it would be in all of our best interests for Matthew Stafford to go to the Rams and bomb. It would be in all of our best interests. It would be great if he could reenact the 2008 season and go 0-16. He wasn't here, but it would be great if they could reenact that season because, Terry, you know what? If the Lions get the 4th and 8th, 4th and 5th or whatever, yeah, that helps my football team. Absolutely. That's what I want. I want to help my football team.
It'll bring a lot of excitement around here because we don't have Bob Quinn making the picks.
Yes, there's that
We got a man who seems to be competent.
There's that as well. Art.
Yeah, I think, wishing him the best and saying, hey, thanks for everything that you did for Detroit and Michigan, that's great. But we would be fools to be like, yeah, I hope you get a Super Bowl. Like, you got to stop playing this patty cake game. He's not our friend anymore. He's playing on another team. Like, what he did for Detroit was great, but not the best.
Do you know when I think that changes with a lot of people? When he lights up the Lions this year, I think that'll change for a lot of people.
I hope so, because the fair weatherness of, hey, Stafford, we hope you get a Super Bowl. You're not on the Lions anymore. We need to be focused on our team. We could wish him the best. Like you said, you don't want the guy to get injured. You don't want the guy to get hurt or have an absolutely terrible season. But when we play, we're coming to play to win.
No, and that's what. Hold on, Sean said it's Matthew Stafford, not Matthew Stanford. Did somebody call him Matthew Stanford?
I must have.
Oh, the shirt. Now I get it.
Oh, yeah.
I gotcha. Gotcha. We're sharp. We're really sharp. No, but Terry, do you think that's the case? Look, chances are the Rams are going to be really good. Chances are the Lions are going to be really bad. Matthew Stafford could absolutely obliterate the Lions this year. I mean, really. I mean,
sure.
Hey, Cooper Kupp went off for 150. Robert Woods went off for 150. Stafford with 400 and 4 touchdowns and everything. Opinions will change after that, right?
Well, absolutely. But we're from the Midwest, and we are, for the most part, a nice community. Yeah, you get your little jerks here and there, and yes, there's going to be people, and I'm not saying you're a jerk, but there's going to be some people rooting against them. There's going to be a whole bunch of people saying, go, Matthew, go. We're behind you, brother. Go get that ring because you can't get it here.
I am one of those jerks. I'm telling I have no problem saying. If it makes me a jerk to want what's best for my football team, call me a jerk. Yeah, it would be in the Lions' bet. Now, do I expect that to happen? No. I think they're going to be a pretty damn good team.
They'll win at least one playoff game, too.
I think so.
So you get the Lions pick the 5th pick and the 22nd pick.
It's not a kick in the groin or anything to go watch Stafford in his first year immediately win a playoff game.
That's the only reason he didn't win one here is because he played for the Lions. I'm telling you, if he had played for the Bears, the Packers, or the Vikings the last 12 games, he'd have multiple playoff wins. Multiple. And you know what we be saying in Detroit? We hate that guy because he kicks our team's ass every year. Yeah. How come the Lions didn't draft him?
What have we done with our lives? What have we done with our lives? This has been my Sunday for as long as I've had air in my lungs. Oh, my goodness.
But then we'd be saying, well, but he screws up in the second game in the playoffs. Get there. Yeah. It'd be great if this team even just got there to
that's
screw
what I'm
it up.
talking about. Oh. Look, I mean, only in Detroit do you glorify a playoff win. That is that win at the Pontiac Silverdome is like this holy day. I mean, really, a playoff win. One crazy playoff win. And like at the time I was 21 years old, there's no way in Hades I thought that was going to be the only one.
You just said, and I was 21 years old.
I was.
We're glorifying something that happened that long ago.
Isn't it crazy? I'm 79 now. I remember everything about that day.
Hey, you know who's an old ass dude? Me. I was at the damn game working, and it was electric.
It was so loud. It was, Terry. There's nothing in my mind. I don't know if you and I have ever had this guy. The pick six that day. I've never heard it louder anywhere. Period. End of story. I remember my buddies and I looking at each other going. Because you couldn't hear it. There was just like this noise in that building.
I still got ringing in my ears from that.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
It was so nuts.
Hey, pleasure being with you again, my friend.
It was my pleasure. One of the highlights of the week, Monday with Shawnee B.
Let's make sure that Mrs. Foster doesn't find out that Terry's here, though. Can we? Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Can we do that?
We can do that.
Everybody, shh. Terry's not on with us on Monday, and he certainly is not in here Thursday with the Morning Wood Show either. He is not here. Okay?
I'm doing it virtually. I'm at home.
We have such great technology here at Woodward Sports. There's a green screen behind him.
I'm telling you, she's Dr. Fauci, man. She's mean.
Terry, always a pleasure. Fish, you're the man. Thank you. I still respect you for stripping Joik. That video makes me laugh every time. Arthur, thank you. Coming up on the show today at 3 o'clock, what do you guys got?
A little bit of everything. We're going to highlight the AEW because Darren's a big wrestling fan. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit of NASCAR. I will give Darren props. He did get multiple picks correct for the Pennzoil 400.
He knows his shit.
Which I'm not looking forward to it because I gave him MMA picks, and they were terrible. So, not looking forward to that. But yeah, 3 to 5 today, The Hook. Make sure you're tuned in.
Make sure you check him out 3 o'clock. We'll see you tomorrow morning with Joik Bell as well. In the meantime, thank you for watching Woodward Sports. See ya.